Welcome back to the shop here at Basin Motorsports. I'm Canaan. Today we're going to continue on with our plaid changeover on my C5 Corvette. You've recently seen me do some seats and a cargo cover in plaid. And now we're going to do a console top in the same material with a little bit of black on the edge and of course the nice blue French stitch. So what I've done already is just take off the console lid. It's much easier to work on it outside of the car. And all you have to do really is just take out the 4 screws right here on the hinge. You take those out and the lid will pop off. Next, we'll have to take off this inner plastic cover here, which is 5 screws. And maybe this latch, we'll see when it comes apart. And then we'll get the console top off. Now with everything taken apart, it's pretty easy to do. Go ahead and take out your plastic liner. There are 5 main screws kind of in the pan down here. And then you're going to have 2 at the hinge that go into metal bosses on the lid. So there's 7 total screws. Once you take that out, what you'll find is you'll have your metal bosses around and then your screw bosses. And what I found was this piece right here is actually a cover that goes over the original factory piece. Now it does have a little bit of foam in there. It's a little squishy. And this is in good shape. So, rather than try and take this off and worry about the staples and all the pieces, let's just go ahead and cover it again. That'll keep it safe from exposure. And I won't have to worry about finding staples. Now the piece I took out was this blue leather. It has some top stitching on it here. And the thing I like about it is it has a 1-inch foam in it. So I want to add in a little bit of foam. This is nice and thick. I do like that for the long trips. So once I had an established baseline of a cover that came off an aftermarket piece, I knew I had foam that I liked. I decided to go ahead and throw that out the window and start from scratch. This is a great mistake to make because you learn a lot about how not to do things. So the first idea I had to make this console cover was that I was going to make some foam. So I took my foam, turned it upside down, I then used this piece to form. Now this is your console top. So your foam would go over top of it, and I traced it out, rolling it side to side to make sure I had all the edges. And what this ended up giving me was a rough shape of foam. Now the beauty of this was I thought I could just take this, glue it onto some material, cut it to shape, and here it was my console top. Now if I just roll this down and under, I could then sew in a bottom piece to this, just like it came off the aftermarket, and it was going to work. Truth was, I couldn't actually make it work because, well, a couple things. Fabric always wanted to crinkle and make a wrinkle, and it looked terrible. And 2, it didn't really take into accommodation the non-symmetrical piece of the console top, nor the curvature all the way around. So, idea number 1, got thrown out the window. So I still kept my foam, and I decided, okay, idea number 2, I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to cover it in painter's tape. Now, as you look at this, I'll just kind of quickly show you, it looked pretty good with painter's tape all the way across. I was happy with the shape, happy with the fit. I even marked it down of where I was going to cut it and how I was going to align it down. So you see it had some marks across the way that were for sewing alignment, and I thought, I finally have a winner. So then I carefully took apart that painter's tape. So I cut along the seams basically where it was. I knew I had to add in a seam allowance of a 1/2 inch to make it easy to sew together. And I got my 3 pieces. So I had a top piece, I had a side piece, and I had a side piece. Now these all together, when they would be sewn together, would actually fit a nice cover over top of this. So when I made my patterns, cut it all out, sewed it together, I got a top piece. Now, this fit pretty well over top, but when I tried to match it again to another aftermarket bottom, or I actually made another one of these, trying to sew this together, it didn't work. So at this point, I was pretty darn frustrated because I just couldn't find a solution other than copying the aftermarket piece. I thought it was okay, but having a one big piece like this, I just thought, I didn't really want that. I wanted something a little bit different. So I came up with an idea. I took this piece, I laid it over top my pattern because I liked the way this turned out. I laid it over top, marked it all out, cut it, and sewed it together. Now on top of this, I also added in some blue stitching around the pieces. This vinyl is the same texture as what I made for the Corvette seats, so it's very similar, so they all match. Of course, the same blue pattern matches, and it has roughly the same center line, so it's going to match the Corvette stuff I already have. So the good thing about it was the foam that I already cut fits inside of here. It fits well, so the trial and error of attempt number 1 gave me the foam shape I wanted, but even though I didn't have the material to go with it, trial 2 gave me the pattern on the top to make it work. And then by following basically the pattern I already had, I made this turn out. So this is the final result of the cover. So if I'll show you the blue that came off, the blue leather was there. This is roughly the same shape. It incorporates the wraparound piece to make sure it fits on the console, but it is my design, my sewing, my good and bad. But I like it the way it is. It's going to be matching. It's not overpowering. It's kind of subtle. The last thing that I need to do now is replace all of the tape, which helps hold it in place while you secure down the tray, I guess you would call it, that goes in, and then put the screws back in. So I need to replace a couple pieces of more tape that I already used and took back off because I was trying all the painter's tape and all the other pieces. So let me replace that. I will then put this on, and I'm going to show you the finished result, the piece that I'm happy with, and then we'll get it back in the car. Now here's a look at the finished product after everything is stretched on and everything fits well. It is stretched to the limit, but I feel like it's pretty consistent on the side all the way around. Looks pretty good. And there's your tray that is already screwed in. Now I just need to go get the center console piece out. I'll get that on, and then I'm going to show you in the car, and we'll kind of wrap this up. Now here's what our finished product is going to look like with the seats and the console top in there. So you can see the plaid matches, the blue stitching matches, and I'm going to have some other pieces like the e-brake boot, shift boot, etc. That'll be done in plaid also in black, but you can see it at least it'll be eye-catching. And then there's just a quick look from the driver's side. So I am going to leave some of the blue touches in there with the steering wheel, a couple of the door pieces, etc. I'll leave those in the blue. That way, just to break it up a little bit, it doesn't need to be mad plaid, but just a little something different. So now that it's time to clean the shop up and get ready for the next project, I do have some pieces left over. Obviously the foam, I went ahead and reused the piece that came in the other. Now I do have all the pieces to make another one of those. These are my patterns. I'll just keep these. That way if someone sees it and they want something else, I can always make that for them. Now the beauty of upholstery is it is completely customizable within a certain range, right? It has to be roughly the right shape, but you can customize it with plaids or whatever else you want to do, or you could just make it a complete black vinyl top with just some padding in between. It's always up to the customer to decide that. Now, if you guys are interested in any of the equipment or the material that I've used in this video to make the console top for my Corvette, I'll go ahead and leave links down in the description of the video. Please like and subscribe if you're interested in this content, and if I can help with better explaining what I'm doing or showing anything, leave me a comment down below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time from Basin Motorsports, and remember, upholstery is just material and thread, so don't stress out when you make a mistake. We'll see you next time.